No. They won't be able to hear it. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the June 6, 2023 Little Rock City Board of Directors meeting. We would like to welcome those in attendance as well as those watching at home or streaming online. Madam Clerk, if you would, please call the roll.
Director Miller,
Here.
Director Richardson,
Here.
Director Pack, Director Hines, Director Lewis, here. Director Wyrick, Director Compuris, Director Phillips,
Present.
Director Adcock, present. Vice Mayor Webb, here. Mayor Scott.
Here. Let me now take this time to recognize City Director Andrea Lewis, who will give our invocation.
Hey, everyone, bow your heads, please. Lord, thank you for this opportunity today. Thank you for allowing us to get here safely. And I just pray that you allow us to all come together and do the city's business according to your will. Allow us to have understanding and take your guidance and remain just in overall peace and harmony and do the work as you see fit for us to do. These blessings I ask in your son Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We're now going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Got to do this? No, forgot it. I wanted to recognize. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We first want to take this opportunity to recognize the Who's Who in America Neighborhoods Award. I'm going to read the proclamation. Before I do that, Director Adcock, would you like to make any opening comments?
About what?
The Who's Who in America's Neighborhood Award.
Yeah, Mayor, the Vice President of the NUSA Board, Dwight Pridgeon, is actually going to do the presentation the Director received. There's an actual award.
All right, Dwight.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Board of Directors, and City Manager Brooks Moore. My name is Dwight Pridgeon, as Bruce said, Vice President of Neighborhood USA, formerly known as NUSA. Behind me today is, of course, Team NUSA. This award means a lot to us. This award has been given out since 2010. The Board of Directors annually recognizes neighborhood advocates who works to mirror the mission of NUSA with the Who's Who in Neighborhoods Award. The award honors individuals who work to build and strengthen neighborhood associations. Just take a minute and think about what I said. Individuals that build and strengthen neighborhood associations, encourages neighborhood environments in the decision-making process in local governments, promotes productive communication and collaboration among neighborhood associations, local governments, public and private sectors. Team Little Rock recently attended the 48th conference in El Paso, Texas. It was a wonderful conference. I mean, it was a great conference. I was wondering was Team El Paso was going to be a good conference. After coming behind, of course, Team Little Rock, but they did an awesome job. We had over 600 people in attendance. This award the award that I'm about to present is an award that mirrors Director Joan Adcock, who's worked with our team to show so much leadership and wisdom. I'm so honored to honor you this award with my team in the back here. I think Director Adcock, you mirrors what NUSA Mission Station actually stands for. And as a city leader tonight, we recognize you as our 2023 Who's Who in American Neighborhoods. Thank you so much for your hard work and your commitment and dedication for the neighborhoods and believing in Team Noosa, because as you know that this team is consists of some city employees with mostly neighborhood people, but that's committed for the work that we do. That's why we have here tonight with everybody here is in their blue shirts. Team together, everyone achieves more, and we believe in that mission. Thank you very much, Director Adcock.
Mayor, just one quick question. Mayor, while he's close to the microphone, one quick question. As we strive and push for diversity in our city, Dwight, do we have any white members on our board or on our group? Do we have any Caucasian as we strive for diversity in everything that we do? Are there any Caucasians in this group you were just talking about? Well, they're part of the group here. I don't see one here. So we do have some. Okay, just not here. But more than one. Okay, just visually, it's just a question, Mayor. I apologize for jumping in. It just popped into my mind. Visually, it was really interesting to see the representation of Little Rock and San Antonio and other places that they've gone. So I just had that question.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to thank particularly Team Noosa. These people are known when they walk into the Noosa conference, all in their blue shirts, all smiling. We are different from any other city in the United States. In other cities, the city pays the deposit and the room and board and the travel for the people to attend the conference. Team Noosa, for 30 years, has raised the money from the community to go to the conference. And I think that shows what a good group we have that wants to represent our city, but also is able all year long to raise the money. It's not that we cannot raise the money, that we cannot pay for people to go. But when you look at these blue shirts, Mayor, they come from all portions of Little Rock. And they have worked together all year to raise $15,000. And it has built the relationship. And so when one has a problem, they call another one. It has built our base of neighborhood associations in this city. And they continue to every year work to attend this conference to make Little Rock better and make our neighborhoods better. And I would like for us to give Team Noosa a hand. Saturday, I went to Pecan Lake's community cookout, and I saw people there with Team Noosa from all over the city. And that's what they do. They go to each other's neighborhoods to make each other's neighborhoods better. And I am so proud of every one of them. We sent 13 this year to El Paso, and they all came back. Thank you, and thank you, Noosa.
And Director Adcock, I know it goes without saying that we, the members of the city board, know how much time, effort, and heart that you put towards Noosa, making certain that everyone's aware of it, that everyone can attend. I'm so grateful to the Noosa team members who thought enough to give you your flowers. And we're so grateful for them and what they do to be true ambassadors of the city of Little Rock. And when we have so many people who are coming across the nation, and as you often remind me, we're the only city to have not one Noosa conference, but two. And we three. And I think you told me the other day you're looking for number 4. And we're just so grateful for you and your leadership. We know the city staff plays a vital role, and they follow your lead, and we want to continue to give you your flowers. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And again, thank you to the Noosa team members. You truly are the embodiment of Little Rock residents and being true ambassadors, and we're so grateful to each of you.
And if anyone's interested, we always take on new members all the time.
Director Peck, you want to make? Okay. All right. We're now going to transition to the home ownership of the month proclamation of Director Howard and Miss Shine and whomever, and that Miss Wanda Merritt, and the great partnership that we have with our HUD partners. I'm very grateful for them. I'll read before, and then you can give the comments. Whereas the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development commemorates the 21st anniversary of the National Home Ownership Month to amplify the benefits of home ownership, and whereas home ownership is a key source for wealth building, but work remains to achieve fairness and equity and access to affordable home ownership for all Americans. And whereas the annual observance of the National Home Ownership Month provides an opportunity for HUD to amplify the department's efforts to support potential homeowners, increase housing supply and affordability, and ensure sustainability for existing homeowners. And whereas over the past 5 years, our community has received a total of $3.5 million in home funds and provided $317,000 in down payment assistance for 69 families. In addition, $420,000 in mortgage subsidy to 25 families to assist with down payment and closing costs for a grand total of $737,000 for 94 families. Whereas the City of Little Rock is grateful for the efforts of the women and men in housing and neighborhood programs department as they partner with other government agencies, lending institutions, nonprofits, and other entities to provide enhanced opportunities for home ownership, and would like to use this opportunity to publicly thank Department Director Kevin Howard and his outstanding staff for their work. Now, therefore, I, Frank Scott Jr., Mayor of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim June 2023 as Home Ownership Month. Before Director Howard, I want to commend you. We do know you have grown into a national leader as it relates to housing, neighborhood programs, and we've heard a lot about the things that you're doing. We want to share our appreciation. We also, to Ms. Shine and the entire team, we know how much you all are doing to effectuate positive change in affordable housing and all those things that are included into it. And we're doing a lot of things that many cities in our state aren't doing. That's due to your leadership and your team. We're grateful. And to Ms. Merritt, we're so grateful for the relationship that we have with you. And you keep helping us, whether it's the choice grants and things of that nature, be innovative and intentional together. So thank you. Director Howard.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, good afternoon, and members of the board, City Manager Bruce Moore, and Tom Carpenter, City Attorney. Yes, we do a lot with a little that we have, and we definitely appreciate the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for their assistance and the funding that they provide to the City of Little Rock. As we know, National Homeownership Month started back in 1995 under the President Bill Clinton to increase homeownership across America. It was extended by President George Bush in 2002 to increase homeownership for the entire month of June, National Homeownership Month, and reinforces the belief of owning a home is one of the steps toward achieving the American dream. We use a lot of what our Home Investment Partnership Program funds to develop affordable housing in the City of Little Rock, also providing down payment assistance and also subsidies across the City of Little Rock to develop these affordable housing units. So people that live in the City of Little Rock, residents, can purchase these houses that are below the 80% of the area median income. Definitely want to bring up Ms. Wanda Merritt, who provides a lot to the City of Little Rock with the funding that we receive from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. I attended a lot of meetings. Last April, we were at the Fair Housing Conference with the state of Arkansas. And so we also often are on the same platform where we talk about homeownership and the American dream. So I'm gonna bring up so she can say some words. Thank you to the board for accepting all of our resolutions that become before you all so we can submit it to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, for that, and to Mayor Scott and the board of directors. I do echo what you said, Mayor, about the good work that Kevin Howard and Tracy and the team that they're doing with HUD monies. Of course, national homeownership is that time that we highlight. And as you mentioned, Mayor, it is homeownership that really provides the great amount of wealth that folks have. And so with HUD and the FHA, the Federal Housing Administration, we are doing all we can to remove those barriers for homeownership, particularly for first-time, low and moderate income home buyers and communities of color. And so I just want to again thank this team because, and you've heard me say this before, we have the easy work with HUD in giving out the monies, but these are the folks that are on the ground, that are in the weeds, that are really working directly with potential homeowners to make this happen. And so we could not do it without the city of Little Rock and this wonderful team of Mr. Howard and Ms. Shine. So thank you for presenting the proclamation. We really appreciate that. You've done this for a number of years, and we appreciate the good partnership that we have with the city because, again, we couldn't do it without you. And like I said, we have the easy job, and so you guys continue to make us look good and continue to build the neighborhoods, improve the neighborhoods. I'm really excited about the closing that's happening later this month on Whispering Pines. That was a result of home monies. And so we're excited about that. It is, again, going to help improve the blight in the neighborhood. So thank you again, Mayor. Thank you again, Mr. Howard and Ms. Shine. We appreciate the wonderful partnership. Thank you.
Thank you again. And Ms. Wanda, Director Merritt, we definitely love making you all shine, which means more money. So we accept more money so you can shine even brighter.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
All right, have a great day. All right, we got a number of different modifications. We have 4 modifications for today's agenda. M1 is to purchase a property for a temporary fire station. M2 and 3 both are settlements of litigation. M4 is the establishment of juvenile curfew within designated entertainment districts and city parks.
Mayor, I motion that we add M1, M2, and M3 to the consent agenda and M4 to the separate items.
Second.
All right. Well, we'll first take M1, M2, 3 to the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Mayor, did we get a second to that motion?
Oh,
It's Director Adcock.
Director Adcock on M1, 2, 3. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it for adding M1, 2, and 3 to the consent agenda. Before we go to M4, see Director Phillips' hand.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I sent an email to my colleague today about some of the substance of my concerns as it relates to M4. But just as a procedural issue, I understand that for this ordinance to be added to the separate items, it requires 8 votes because it wasn't on our agenda during our agenda meeting 2 weeks ago. And I want to state publicly what I shared with them, that I think that this ordinance, or any ordinance for that matter, should always be on the agenda meeting before we vote on it at the board meeting, so our public can have opportunity to be informed of it, to hear about it, read about it, talk about it, and then come back the following week and share their support, rejection, or concerns about the ordinance. So from a procedural standpoint, I'm going to vote no on adding this to the separate items agenda. Not against this in concept. And for those who remember, a few months ago, the same thing happened with the ambassador program, where we added it to a board meeting agenda. And I said, hey, this is a good idea. This is not the right procedure to handle these type of matters. Again, here's another good idea. In my opinion, not the right procedure. This should be on the agenda meeting so we can discuss it in full and have the public opportunity to be informed and then weigh in. So for that, I'm gonna vote no, and I would ask my colleagues to join me in deferring this and putting it on the actual agenda meeting so it can be fully discussed.
Point of order.
Thank you, Mayor.
Point of order.
1 second, Director Hines.
Point of order, Mayor.
Director Hines? Your point?
This modifications offered by the city manager only requires simple majority.
Correct. That's what I was going to share. That being stated, for
Hold on, can I get clarity on that? Maybe I'm unaware of that. So if the city manager offers it, it only needs 6 votes to be added to the agenda, even though it wasn't on the agenda meeting?
That's correct.
Okay, well, my position still stays the same. I guess instead of 8, we need 6. But I still will ask my colleagues to support me in putting this on the actual agenda meeting so it can be fully discussed by us and heard by the public. I'm sorry for being incorrect on the number of votes needed.
Director Phillips, you were correct if the matter had just been presented tonight for the first time and had not been offered by the city manager. Because it was offered by the city manager, the ordinance is explicit that he can offer anything between the agenda meeting and the regular meeting, but it still takes 6 votes of the board to add it to the agenda, which is what you did with the first 3 items.
Director Richardson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo Director Phillips' comments. I think from a process standpoint, this is really problematic for me, and it seems that we're consistently inconsistent with respect to how we move items forward. And I think that's something that's important. Something of this nature needs to have a forum for us to be able to discuss it, for the people to be able to say yay or nay to it. But I just think that from a process standpoint, I'm supporting Director Phillips' position, and I too, sir, will be voting no.
Yes, sir. Director Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to weigh in on this as director of Ward 1, if where a couple of these entertainment districts are located. I want the public to know that I support some action as it relates to juvenile curfew hours. I think it's important. I don't believe our entertainment districts should be places where people drop their children off to babysit. I believe our businesses deserve a response from us. I believe it needs to be something that the public weighs in on. And certainly after reading the email from Director Phillips, there is some concerns that have been raised in my mind about the ordinance that probably needs to be cleaned up some, the proposed ordinance, as we've read it. I also believe that there's some other businesses in these entertainment districts that I need to hear from. I've heard from a few, but I hadn't heard from all of them. And I think it's important that these businesses weigh in with their ideas, their positions on this. And so I don't think it's unreasonable to take a look at this, put it on the agenda so we can talk about it, have a discussion about it. Let me get feedback from businesses that are in Ward 1, that are in entertainment districts. But I want to assure the public out in the businesses that I am supportive of doing something. I am supportive of taking some type of action in response to a juvenile curfew, but I really want to hear from other businesses in the district. And I think the public deserves to have a chance to weigh in on this. This is very important. It's not unlike the evolution of entertainment districts that I've seen in Memphis and Beale Street, or the evolution of entertainment districts that you see in Bourbon Street in New Orleans. Things happen. And certainly as relates to one specific entertainment district, certainly in the River Market, I remember going down there once and the street was blocked off. They stopped traffic from coming through. I was surprised at that, but I thought that was a good thing. I wish I had a chance to know about that. And so things like this, I believe, need feedback. Again, I want to assure the public that I am supportive of doing some action, but I also think it's important to hear back from them. And because of that, I'm going to vote that I'm going to support Director Phillips on this and hopefully get this on the agenda so that we can have a full-blown discussion about that, so I can hear from other businesses in Ward 1 that are in entertainment districts. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Director Miller. Director Capires.
Well, this is a little bit like when the tornado came through. You don't wait for 2 weeks or 4 weeks to make a decision. We're supposed to take care of problems. We have a drastic problem downtown. I haven't heard from every business, but I've heard from a number of the businesses downtown. Their business is down. We've had an unfortunate incident in the parking deck we're cleaning up. And I think it begs the question that we can't, as adults, sit here and go over what Antoine has written and make a decision tonight on what to do on this. I think that it is not a problem that I don't know how you weigh in on something like this. The police want this done. I want it done. And I'm tired of this being a dumping ground for young people. Now, I can see a train coming and Antoine's going to beat us up and get this done. But it makes me a little bit upset that we don't recognize that there's a problem and that we always want to wait and take a little bit more time and do something about it. When we know what the problem is, there's an easy solution for this, and the police need it. And so I'm going to not vote. I'm going to want to go ahead and make this happen tonight. Obviously, that's not going to probably happen with everybody not wanting to do it, but I think we're doing the wrong thing. I think we're sending the wrong signal. I think we're telling the businesses down there that we can't make a hard decision quickly. And if you don't want this part of town to survive, and if you don't care about downtown, let's put it off for 2 weeks. Let's put it off for 4 weeks. It doesn't make any difference. It's going to go to hell in a handbasket if we do that. And I'm really upset about not doing this, about not having to take the time and effort to do it tonight. So there's my 2 cents worth. I'm sorry that I'm going so blunt, but I'm tired of things happening and us not reacting to it the way we should.
Director Richardson, then Director Phillips. Oh, you have to go to Director Hines.
Thank you, Mayor.
Actually, he's Director Richardson.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's Director Hines, then Director Richardson.
Thank you.
My apologies.
And I respect everyone's opinions on this, but to me, this seems, and we've got an emergency clause in it. This is an emergency. If we decide to defer this, then we've got 3 more weekends before it would become effective. That's 3 more weekends of opportunity for bad things to happen in a part of town that we spent a lot of time, money, blood, sweat, and tears, financial commitments to do it. And I agree with Director Compiers. I think we can sit here and work through the 7 items that, or actually 6, that Director Phillips has brought up. And I think we can work through them with the city attorney while we're sitting here and get this done tonight. And I don't think you're going to see any objection from business owners, whose most of them's businesses. If you're not over 21, you can't get in anyway down in that area of town. And what I've heard is it's become very crowded. I've talked to folks who live down in the River Market District and the towers, and they won't go near the River Market because of the crowds on the street. And I told them, I said, well, you might want to try, because there's nobody in the bars down there, because it's getting a reputation for a place nobody wants to go and spend their money and hang out because they don't feel safe. And, I think we can take a small measure tonight to do this. And for one of the things we heard in Director Phillips' deal to us is that, well, the rest of the city's 10 o'clock. Well, I've got no problem moving the curfew to 9 o'clock for the rest of the city, if that's going to be a deal. But we're talking about our entertainment districts, which are special privileged areas, to be able to do this. And if I had my way, and Tom told me we could do it, I'd move it to be 21 and over in those entertainment districts, because the whole thing was you can cart an alcoholic beverage from bar to bar in a cup and not have to pour it out at the door. So to me, that doesn't seem like a good recipe, mixing drinking and underage kids that aren't of age to drink and partake. I will agree that if you're over 18, you're an adult, but you can't drink. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hines. Director Richardson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think Director Hines made some real interesting points, particularly as it relates to the whole notion of entertainment districts and those of us who supported that concept when it came before us. And I haven't heard, and Director Hines said everybody's entitled to their own point of their own opinion. I haven't heard an increase with respect to violence or crime in that part of our city as opposed to other parts of the city. Mayor, you wasn't here. I was sitting next to Director Peck the night when I got on our former mayor when we had that shooting at the downtown nightclub. The very next day, we had the emergency press conference. No one was killed. The very next day. And I remember watching a live interview with the lieutenant governor's spokesperson saying, well, we can't allow stuff like this to happen in some places in our city. I said, well, what does that mean? Just a month before that, we had a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old get murdered, gunned down. No emergency press conferences, no actions, no discussion. I mentioned that night during that meeting. I sit next to Kathy, and I said the only person I heard from was Mr. Moore, who called me and talked, and Jerem Day, the former Mayor Day, called me and talked. A 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, no action. But we had a shooting at a nightclub. Nobody was killed, no homicide. The very next day, an emergency press conference. So I know press conferences don't solve violence in our community, but I don't know if they say to the community, some things are going to be accepted somewhere, some places, and some things are going to be accepted. They won't be accepted in other places. And to make that, to bring it back home with respect to violence in our community and crime, what I'm hearing, and I agree with Director Miller. I mean, he said he wants to see more. He wants to hear from more of his people, the entertainment district down there. But what I'm hearing is we're seeing more people down there. We're seeing more people. I thought that's why we had a river market, to attract people. Is the crime going with it? Are we seeing more batteries, more aggravated assaults, more robberies, more homicides, rapes? Has crime in that patrol division gone up further than in other patrol divisions? Has it gone up? I know last year was a hot topic for public safety because of the political season. And all of a sudden, public safety majestically became a board concern when we reached this number. 1 is too many for me, guys. And I haven't heard anything from our police. I haven't seen anything. And I talk to people in the community. Virgil, I'm out in the community. I haven't seen that increase. I don't know if it's just an increase of people, what it is, but I thought the river market was designed to attract people. Or are we saying it's designed to attract, I know the age thing, are we saying it's just designed to attract certain people from certain communities? I'm really, really Lance flummoxed because I think we consistently are selected with respect to how we address, embrace issues that we support or oppose. And I think that's not fair to us. It's not fair to city staff. It's not fair to our residents. It's not fair in our overall that we selectively determine when, where, and how we're going to address issues. Not because of the frequency of it, but because it's the severity of it, but because I don't know why. I don't know what else to say about this. I'm Lance, all I can say is I'm really, that's my word, flummoxed. I'm really flummoxed. All caps, all bold letters about the notion that crime has increased in the river market. I hadn't heard anybody talk about this at this board during our board meeting. We talked about public safety. I haven't gotten an email from anyone about it. But now, I think we heard for it, one person, one business owner, 2 business owners maybe, perhaps. Now, all of a sudden, it's just majestically has become an emergency situation. That if we don't do something about it now, 2 weeks from now, we can't wait. But what about those neighborhoods that have disproportionate numbers of liquor stores and convenience stores, or boarded up homes, or vacant lots? 2 weeks from now, they can't wait. They don't seem to be on our emergency list, on our to-do list. We have areas of our city that produce social ills that we know the solutions to, and it's not more police. We know that. We're smart enough to understand that. It's not more police. I think it's unfair for us to keep saying that. We have certain factors, research-based factors that we know produce social ills that produce criminal activity. Is it 2 weeks too late for that? Is 2 years too late for that? I've been on this board for quite a while, and to the tune of a broken record, I've said the same thing over and over again. And I sometimes ramble when I say it, but it's really interesting. It really is to me. It's quite fascinating, and it kind of reminds me of the whole notion of the biggest hypocrisy of our democracy is the illusion of inclusion. The biggest hypocrisy of our democracy is the illusion of inclusion. Understand that. That's all I have, Mayor. Mayor, and Lance, I'm flummoxed. Hope you got that.
Thank you, Director Richardson. We have next Director Phillips, Director Peck, then Director Miller.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to respond directly to Director Curfew's comments about can we, and I guess Director Hines, about can we get this done tonight? Yes, I believe we are capable, intelligent adults who have the city of Little Rock's best interests in mind. I also know that we all represent the people of the city of Little Rock. And I think part of our job is to be responsive, receptive to our constituents, all of them, not just the ones that have our cell phone numbers. And I think it takes time, a week, to hear from them to get this right. Like Director Miller said, I'm not against this concept. I want the public to know something does need to be done, and I'm gonna be supportive when we get it right. But this is not a 3-week delay, Lance. If you look at the calendar, it's June 6th. We can put this on the agenda for June 13th, so that's only 1 weekend, and then we would vote on it on June 20th. That's 2 weekends. So that part was incorrect. There's been other times, and I chuckled, Director Compeers, when you said you were frustrated and you're being blunt. That doesn't bother me. We should be honest with each other, and some things deserve passion. But I chuckled because I remember you and I was on the exact opposite of this conversation. We were talking about ARPA dollars. And I said, let's get this money out to the people. What are we waiting on? I remember this body said, well, let's wait 4 months to decide how to spend the money. I'm asking for a week to hear from the people, to make sure we're doing something that's going to affect the entire city, that we're hearing from everybody and not just a few people who have our cell phone numbers. That's all I'm asking. Director Miller, as he mentioned in Ward 1, there are more businesses than the couple that we've all heard from. And I think those other businesses, the other constituents in our city, deserve opportunity to be involved in this conversation. There may be a bunch of people who don't care, but they should have the opportunity to not care, as opposed to us making a decision amongst ourselves tonight without hearing from them. Again, I want to be supportive of our police department and their recommendations on what needs to happen, but I also have a job to do to represent 202,000 people in the city of Little Rock as a at-large director, and I need to hear from the people. So that's why I'm taking the position that this can wait 1 week to be discussed, 2 weeks to be voted on, and we can add an emergency clause on June 20th, and it can go in effect at that time. I don't think this is us throwing our hands up, and I don't think this is saying if you vote for this to be on the agenda next week, you are conceding that downtown is going to hell in a handbasket. That's not what this is. In law school, we learned the parade of horribles, and that's what was just implemented here. That was a parade of horribles. That's not going to happen. The city is not going to hell in a handbasket, whether we do something today or in 2 weeks. So I don't want to do any fear-mongering among our constituents, among our business owners, the people in this city, our police department. Our job is to make sure that doesn't happen, and I trust that we're going to do our jobs. Let's just get this right and allow people the opportunity to weigh in this process. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Director Phillips. Director Peck, Director Miller, then Director Pierce, then Director Webb.
Thank you. I agree with Director Campuris and Director Hines. I do think this is something we should address tonight. I have been contacted by some business owners, and just today at Rotary, a couple of people stopped and talked to me about it. I do know for a fact that some people in the hospitality business are struggling right now downtown. I know for a fact because I'm in that business and I have a music venue now. It's only every other week, but I have customers coming in saying that some of the venues downtown have shuttered because people are afraid to go downtown. And I would invite you to find a more diverse group than you would see on one of my jazz nights. Young, old, black, white, brown, male, female. It's very diverse. And they say, we feel comfortable here. We don't feel safe downtown. I believe this is something that the LRPD supports, the Downtown Partnership, the Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau. I understand what you're saying, Antoine. We want to hear from the people. But if we don't have healthy, vibrant, safe business owners that feel like they can proceed there, then it will go to hell. I read it. I understand your questions. I think we could address them now. I'm prepared to do so, so I will be voting for it. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Director Peck. Director Miller, then, Director Miller, then Director Pierce, then Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me say again that I am certainly wanting to let the public know. I want the public to know that I want some action taken. I just don't think it's something that I'm comfortable in doing, putting this on the agenda tonight. I dare say that I probably spend more time in these entertainment districts at night than any other director here. I'm in the Soma Entertainment District on a weekly basis.
We see you on Facebook.
I'm in the River Market at night, at least a couple of times. I've been there a couple of times this past month, but I'm certainly in the Soma District. I have not heard from a single merchant in the Soma District as it relates to this proposed curfew. I've heard from a couple of businesses in the River Market District. I see no reason to not give me an opportunity in Ward 1 to talk to these businesses. Believe me, I will contact them starting tomorrow. I need feedback from all these entertainment districts, certainly these two that are in Ward 1. I go to the business and merchants SOMA monthly meetings. I know what their concerns are during the day. I have not heard from them as it relates to this ordinance at night. I haven't heard from all the businesses in the River Market District. I hadn't heard from the police. I mean, some people have, I guess, lines of communication that I don't have. I think it's important to give people that are elected to these positions, us members of the board, a chance to get the same type of feedback that apparently the rest of our directors are getting. I don't get this feedback. Sometimes I have to reach out to solicit feedback. People aren't calling me all the time about this. I've heard from a couple of folks, but not all the folks. I think it is reasonable for them to contact their director and let them know what's going on. Let me know what's going on in these areas that I frequent. And so I was in the River Market a week ago Friday. I've had dinner at establishment where a gentleman called me today, and I let him know that I am supportive of some action to be taken. I just don't know if it needs to be taken tonight without the feedback of all the businesses that I represent in my ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Miller. Director Pierce.
Well, I'll reiterate, I think it will be done tonight, but I can see that there's a division and it will not be a good picture. I think that we have started and stopped to try to do the right thing downtown. We have an ambassadors program that Joan proposed in January. We just got the RFQ approved and it's June. So we have nobody on the street. We have a problem that the police have identified. We have people that are dropped off downtown, and we're going to sit around and let this continue happening. And Ken, I'm sorry about the way you feel about different things, and you're right about most of the things you're talking about. But this is a unique situation. But in the spirit of trying to work with everybody, I would ask the mayor to call a special meeting next week, and let's have 1 week to talk about it and get this done. And if we can do that, then I think we can all have a week to cool down and calm down, and maybe I can calm down. But I'm tired of the money and effort we've put in since we got the library here and since everything's happened here. And we feel like that all these wonderful things are going to happen in the next year or two, but we're not supporting the institutions that we need to have there when it happens. And it upsets me tremendously, and it's a personal thing. I've spent all of my elected life trying to make it better downtown, and it hurts to see us not taking what I think are the correct actions in a timely manner to do the right thing. But Mayor, I would ask you to call a special meeting in a week. That gives Virgil a chance to walk up and down the street and Antoine to do what he wants to do, to talk about this, and then we can vote on it in a week and get this thing done.
Director Webb.
I guess my comments will be a moot point if we're going to have a special meeting. I was going to say that I was going to vote for it tonight for a couple of reasons. First of all, my phone number is on the city website, and so anybody has my phone number. It's not just a handful of people who call us. Anybody can reach out and call. I've talked to my neighborhood associations and so a lot of the merchants, and feel like there's a lot of support for this. And I wanted to hear from the police who are here tonight to get their opinion. And I would still vote for putting it on the agenda tonight to hear their opinion. But if the majority feel like we should wait another week, I would certainly go along with that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Director Webb. Before any comments are made, any more comments from members of the board? Any more comments from members of the board?
Can we hear from Cheese Wire?
We have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, we didn't do a motion. I went straight to the questions before.
Mayor, as a point of order, I made the motion as carrying M1 through 4. It was one motion that was approved and seconded. You as the chair decided to separate M1 through 3 and M4, but we did have a motion and a second on the whole thing from M1 to M4. That's how I made the motion. It was seconded. You recognize the second as the chair, and you as the chair, whether or not the parliamentarian believes that was legal, it may have been a point of privilege for you to separate them, but I feel that as we have a motion and a second, we were having discussion on that, and if we've ceased discussion, then we need to proceed to a vote.
And Director Hines, just for the record, if there was any confusion, we'll acknowledge confusion, but I know what came out of my mouth was a vote for M1 through M3. That's what came out of my mouth as the chair. Now, you may have did M1, 3, and 4. That's fine. There's no need to have any discussion on that. That's fine. That's not an issue. I just want to share that it came from mine was M1 to M3, and that's what I shared when I called the vote. But again, that's nothing to quarrel about at all. Since there is a motion on the floor, and understanding what you were saying, even though I said something different, again, no need to quarrel. That being said, all of them are together, and then we would have to have all this conversation again. So do you still want to do that? And that's fine.
Already voted.
We voted on M1 to M3. That, again, as chair, I separated. If that's the case, then all of them have already passed. I'm agreeing. Yeah.
You announced that was being voted on was M1 through 3, and the clerk will need to correct me, but I thought
Yeah.
that passed.
Yeah, M1, M3 passed.
And then the keeping M4 separate is the issue before the board now, just that one issue.
Agreed. Parliamentarian and I are on one accord. So that being stated, what I will do is, Director Hines, I'll use chairman's privilege and will acknowledge the recommendation from Director Compuris, and we will defer this, and I will call a special call meeting next Tuesday.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Is that the motion, Mayor? If it is, I will second it.
Second.
It wasn't a motion. I was just parliamentarian. I was just.
Announced you were going to call a special meeting next week.
Yes.
The motion and the second can be withdrawn and take the matter off, but I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
The question is this, Director, let me start with, I don't care what y'all do.
And before you go there, I just want to get back on one because I want to make certain that Director Hines and I are working together. Director Hines, if we made to clean it up, would you like to remove your motion on M4? And if not, if you want to stick with that, and like I said, there's no quarrels, it just goes on the agenda. The M4 does. I'm just trying to clear that up.
I understand, and if it's the pleasure of the majority of the board to do it as a special call meeting, I'm fine with that, and I'll withdraw my motion.
We'll take the withdrawal motion from Director Hines. Is there a motion?
Director Adcock needs to withdraw her second.
Director Adcock, if you'll withdraw your second.
Well, I'm like Director Hines. I made a second on 1 through 4, but if he withdraws his on item 4, I shall withdraw mine too.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor, would it be appropriate, based on that, for me to make a motion that we call an emergency meeting next week?
There's no need for that.
There's no need for that. Okay.
So we got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, we don't have a motion.
Oh, it was.
We've withdrawn.
But I've got a question.
All right.
Second.
Everyone, let's get us together on parliamentary procedure.
There's no need for a vote.
No need for a vote.
Been withdrawn by both the motion and the second, but I've got a question.
All right, so now for everyone watching the screen, Director Hines removed his motion. Director Adcock removed her second. So there's no longer a vote. I will call a special call meeting next Tuesday at 4:00 to allow for more public input based on the feedback being received by members of the city board. Now, parliamentarian.
And I started before, I don't care what you do as long as it's legal. Director Phillips sent out an email this evening. He called me before it was sent and discussed it briefly, and he sent me a copy of it. What I would like to be able to do without anybody thinking I'm for or against this is to be able to answer the issues that are raised by Director Phillips so that you see them in that context. The second thing is, before you is an ordinance that was this ordinance that had some language in red, part because of comments from Vice Mayor Webb, and I think there was one other person, and also from one of the members of the news media. To give you an example, the Heights Hillcrest Entertainment District sells alcohol on Thursday night only. So the curfew would only apply on Thursday night because the main focus of this is dealing with really no way to be able to determine that somebody is getting alcohol under the age. So I will take this copy, which you've got, and use that as the memorandum I send, if that's okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Hand up. Director Phillips.
Thank you. And City Attorney, that makes perfect sense to me. So go forth and conquer. From a procedural standpoint, I know we all been watching the news, how you do things procedurally can be important. If Director Hines withdrew his motion, then that means M1, M2, and M3 were actually not added to today's agenda So we need a new motion for M1, 2, and 3 to be added to today's agenda.
Correct. And that's what Madam Clerk was getting ready to say.
I withdrew my motion on 4,
Or that way.
not on the 1, 2, and 3.
But there was a confusion about whether you did them together. I think, and
We
I'm not the
only-
parliamentarian, but I think. we
Motion to
should
add
do it
1, 2, and 3 to the consent agenda, Mayor.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. All right. Everyone, I want to make a brief update based on community feedback as well as visiting with some members of the city board. We will be extending the debris deadline of June 11th. We have not decided on the exact date, but it's going to more than likely be an additional 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. We'll come up with that between now and tomorrow's tornado recovery a presser that we give an update. I believe that's at 10:30 tomorrow. Aaron, 10:30, you're nodding your head, 10:30? 10:30 tomorrow. So we'll have the exact time, but it'll be somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks. I haven't talked to you yet, John. I know this is news to you. We'll discuss that briefly. And so that will get us the time. Director Peck, I know you had some comments as well.
Thank you, Mayor. And I've been begging for this. I've been driving around. I think I've taken about 60 pictures, mostly in my ward, but some in Kathy's. Lance, I don't know about yours. There's still so much work to do. We've made great headway, but I've been approached by people in some of the hard-hit areas, and it's just not time yet. But I do want, how I like to always tell a good story and change the mood a little bit. Shackelford Court is one of the worst hit streets in West Little Rock. And I've been working with the neighbors there and did a little interview on Channel 7 last week. Sunderland finally got there, I think for the first time since the tornado. They were very grateful, need to make more passes. But this gentleman, who I don't know, wrote me an email and said he'd seen me on television and heard about the June 11th deadline. He was an ex-military guy, retired, and he had a small excavator, and he volunteered to work for free in the Walnut Valley neighborhood all week. So see, there are good people out there.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the extension. We need it.
Thank you.
I have about 60 pictures.
And I do, and I think we as a board will be okay with this. I think we need to prepare that it could increase some costs by us extending, because based on staff there was a reason why staff wanted it June 11th as it relates to the FEMA reimbursement. And so just be prepared if there's some additional costs. This is the reason why, but I do believe with the community feedback and listening with you, particularly Director Peck, yourself, and how it's mostly impacted your ward, I think that's something that we can kind of figure out and absorb.
I know that the constituents listening are very appreciative. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Peck. All right.
Mayor, my hand is up.
Director Adcock, apologize.
Yes. Have you decided yet how we are going to do the $500,000 that was donated? I have people that are calling. There is so much hurt out there, so much that they're not able to replace. And when they ask if that's been decided, all I can say is the mayor has not told us yet.
And Director Adcock, we made that announcement 2 weeks ago and also sent that information to the city board. I'll make certain that I'll resend it out so you can pass out.
I'm sorry, I don't think that there's several of us that has not heard that. So what is going, I knew that, I saw that you had allocated, I think like 200,000 of it. How about the balance of it?
No, we allocated all, and I'm pretty certain we allocated it all, Director Adcock. And I'll get you all the information.
Administrator of it?
Excuse me?
Who is the administrator?
We also shared that we will be identifying a third-party person to administer the direct pay to this folks, and I believe we have finalized, it's almost but finalized. I believe it was only one person who was part of the process that submitted. They're still going through some negotiations. I can get that information to you tomorrow. I just don't have it with me, but we made all those announcements 2 weeks ago.
And that is what I'm asking for, is the administrator.
So, okay, you're asking about the administrator, not about the money.
About the administrator who's going to pass out the money to the individuals.
Yes, ma'am. That, as we stated 2 weeks ago, that would be forthcoming. We had to go through some administrative processes to identify the person, then we have to have a contract with the person. And I also said the administrator is going to inevitably have to be paid. And since we made the commitment that those donation dollars would not go towards any administrative expenses, that the city board not the city board, the city would absorb that administrative cost and we'll pay that out. I also shared that 2 weeks ago. But I'll get that information because we're getting ready to name that person. We got to go through some legal stuff that's going on right now with procurement. But that should be here pretty soon.
How many people applied for it?
It's our understanding only, as we shared in the press conference, that we only believe a couple people would apply, end up being one person that applied.
Okay.
So it should be pretty quick because, we're not discussing having to review more than one applicant.
I'm like Dr. Computer. Sometimes we sit around and we need to be taking action. Thank you.
And Director Adcock, as the city, we have to abide by dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's because we have legal liability. Director Phillips, is your hand up?
No, Mayor, I'm sorry. I forgot to take it down.
All right.
Keep your hand down there.
All right. Madam Clerk, if you would please read the consent agenda along with items M1 through 3.
The consent agenda consists of a motion to accept the February 2023 financial report, a resolution to authorize a contract with Escamilla Excavating LLC in an amount not to exceed $123,606.50 for the Midland Street at Lee Avenue Drainage Improvement Project and for the purposes funding from the American Rescue Plan Act. A resolution to authorize the mayor to accept for municipal purposes, permanent construction easements, right-of-way dedications, and fee simple acquisitions, and the city manager to acquire temporary construction easements as needed to complete the construction of the 2023 through 2025 street and drainage capital improvement program and for the purposes. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with Dell Technologies at an amount not to exceed $316,170.91 plus applicable taxes and fees to upgrade desktops and laptops for city departments for the Information Technology Department and for the purposes funding from the 3/8 cent capital improvement sales tax. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with Crafton Toll and Associates Incorporated an amount not to exceed $68,500 for design services for improvements to the West Central Ball Field Complex and for the purposes funding from the American Rescue Plan Act. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with Arkansas Regional Commission in an amount not to exceed $112,468.87 for housing opportunities for person with AIDS for a one-year period and for the purposes. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with JHL Builders Incorporated in amount not to exceed $56,000 plus applicable taxes and fees to clear lots in preparation for housing development in the Euclid Place neighborhood, Little Rock, Arkansas, utilizing home investment partnership funds and for the purposes. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a construction contract with Platinum Drywall Incorporated in amount not to exceed $624,000 for the development of 3 new properties located at 4701, 4705, and 4707 Charles Bessie Avenue, Little Rock, Arkansas, utilizing home investment partnership funds and for the purposes. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a construction contract with Platinum Drywall Incorporated an amount not to exceed $410,000 for the development of 2 new properties located at 4403 and 4407 Bower Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, utilizing home investment partnership funds and for the purposes. A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a construction contract with Carson and Associates Incorporated in amount not to exceed $334,875 for the rehabilitation of the Jericho Way Day Resource Center located at 3000 Springer Boulevard, Little Rock, Arkansas, utilizing Emergency Services Grant Match Investment Partnership Program funds and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Carsoft Technologies Incorporation in an amount not to exceed $235,681.60 plus applicable taxes and fees for the purchase of a digital onboarding automated supplier management system for the City of Little Rock Finance Department and for the purposes a resolution authorizes the mayor of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas to convey approximately 5 acres of land to the Little Rock Water Reclamation Authority for the construction of a wastewater lift station and for the purposes a resolution to request Central Arkansas Water to participate in the extension of water service for economic development purposes at the Port of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes a resolution to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Resolution number 15,518 of August 3rd, 2021, Little Rock, Arkansas Resolution number 15,524 of August 17th, 2021, Little Rock, Arkansas Resolution number 15,662 of April 5th, 2022, and Little Rock, Arkansas Resolution number 15,783 of September 6, 2022, to change the allocations for 3 primary intended uses of a portion of the first tranche and 1 primary use of the portion of the second tranche of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas allotment of local fiscal recovery funds through the American Rescue Plan Act, and for the purposes a resolution to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Resolution number 15,539 of September 21st, 2021, to state that the total cost of the U.S. Bank contract for the purchase of the prepaid U.S. Bank Visa Reward Card shall not exceed $237,182 plus applicable taxes and fees, and for the purposes a resolution to extend the 3rd Street Temporary Entertainment District for approximately 15 consecutive weeks, starting on June the 6th, 2023, and ending on September 12th, 2023, and for the purposes a resolution to extend the South Main Soma Temporary Entertainment District for the dates of June 6, 2023, July 7, 2023, August 4th, 2023, September 1st, 2023, October 6, 2023, and November 3rd, 2023, and ending on December 1st, 2023, and for the purposes a resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with Vulcan Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $90,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for the purchase of signed sheeting material for the Public Works Department Street Operations Division, and for the purposes a resolution to authorize a 3-year extension of the interlocal agreement for ambulance service between the City of Little Rock, Arkansas and the City of Cabot, Arkansas, which grants the Little Rock Ambulance Authority doing business as Metropolitan Emergency Medical Services an exclusive contract to provide ambulance services to the City of Cabot, Arkansas, and for the purposes, resolution authorized the execution of an interlocal agreement between the City of Little Rock, Arkansas and the City of Sheridan, Arkansas, granting the Little Rock Ambulance Authority doing business as Metropolitan Emergency Medical Services and an exclusive franchise to provide ambulance services to the City of Sherwood, Arkansas, and for the purposes, a resolution to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute any documents necessary for the purchase of certain real property located at 1509 Green Mountain Drive, Little Rock, Arkansas, for the total amount of $470,000 to be used for the renovation of a temporary fire station. A resolution authorized the statement of litigation after court annexes mediation in Thomas Larison Jr. versus City of Little Rock, Arkansas, number 60 CV-19-9188, Pulaski Circuit Court for the amount of $12,000, and for the purposes, a resolution authorized the settlement of litigation after court annexed mediation in Derek Threadgill versus City of Little Rock, Arkansas, number 60 CV-20-650, Pulaski Circuit Court for the amount of $42,000, and for the purposes, that concludes the consent
For the
agenda.
adoption of the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. We'll now go to citizens' communication. Karen Dykes.
Good afternoon. I'm coming to you today because I am a resident of Big Country Chateau. I know it has been on the media, dinner talk, whatever. I'm here to ask that someone do something to the residents that are still there. 90% of the residents that are still there are senior citizens, along with myself. We're needing someone to help us to leave big country in a safe manner. I am very familiar with housing. I retired from office management, public housing. I've done it all. Joan Adcock, I met her while I was in the housing. I'm just asking for someone to come and explain to us what's going on at this point, why the senior citizens are having a hard time in leaving Big Country Chateau. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And Director Howard, if you wouldn't mind just having a visit with her, please. Mr. Moore?
Yeah, I don't know if, we'll go ahead and just give a quick update on that. Kevin and I met with Freddie Mac, who is basically the lender this afternoon, along with the receiver and representatives from the Attorney General's office. And believe me, everybody wants to, there's 35 units that are still occupied. Everyone around the table feels like we have to facilitate getting those individuals out into safe and proper living arrangements. So we're going to work. Freddie Mac is going to work with the nonprofit. They have dollars that will assist with relocation. We also will be working with a nonprofit that has access to emergency grants, basically, that will also pay for basically 4 months of rent, sometimes even longer. So that just happened today. We're working very hard to get those individuals out. In fact, Freddie Mac, I learned today, is paying all the utilities at the complex. So we won't be, so the seniors won't be threatened with electricity being turned off or no water or anything. So that's where we are right now. Tracy Shine on Kevin's staff will sort of be the lead liaison with Freddie Mac and with the receivership.
Thank you. We'll now go to Mr. Norwood. And after Mr. Norwood, Ms. Reynolds.
Good evening. I'm here to help you do a better job. That's what citizens communication is. We're here to help you do a better job as a representative. This lady's story right here, that's kind of illustrative of the failure of you as government officials and elected officials and bureaucrats. Big Country's been in court for 20 years and it's only gotten worse. And the lesson that is not being recognized is that the role that the city government and the attorneys have played has made the quality of life of these people worse and worse every year. And there was an urgency, and there was an urgency discussed about an incident last week that you wanted to resolve this week, but you're 20 years later for Big Country. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you do better. And my opinions are not opinions that just come from nowhere. My opinions are from contemplation. See, I'm gonna tell you a story. See, my father's a very gentle man, very, very kind, very considerate man. My mother is a no BS person. Most of the time, I'm my father's son. But right now, I'm my mother's son. There's a role that the city plays, and the city is injecting itself into areas that limit the ability of private citizens to actually contribute to the quality of life of the places in this city. Private citizens are competing for development projects, development dollars, and being hindered by city administration. I have a project, I mean, it's not a very expensive project, and it's a $500,000 project on Asher. The city's had me in court for going on 2 years. So that project, an innovative and valuable resource for the people who live in Asher Avenue, will not happen because of city action. So I have to move on because I'm still in court for this project. That's not going to happen this year. It might not happen next year, depending on just how crazy the city is and the attorney is and the lawyers are. So I have to move on to another project with the same idea.
Mr. Norwood, just, you may not be aware, I just want to make, because that's what I'm sharing with you. During citizens communication, the comment period is only for 3.
No, I'm aware. Oh. I'm aware of that, but it also says that there's 30 minutes of comment period. Is that correct? And that 3 minutes is allocated so that everyone is allowed to speak. But if there's 30 minutes and there's only 2 people, I think you can give me 5 minutes. I mean, that seems reasonable.
I would share that may be your interpretation generally, how we've always interpreted and how we follow. So we're not doing anything different with you. If there's one person, they get 3 minutes and then we're done after that one person.
Well, I listen to directors speak ad infinitum on stuff. So I can't get 5 minutes out of a 30-minute session because I have 2 final points. I have another project,
I will say,
because I have to move on to another project.
1 second, Mr. Norwood. I will extend just a little bit more time.
I appreciate that. So my project cannot be done on Asher, so I'm moving to another project, to another area. And when we finish up the financing for that, I don't need the city coming in again and disrupting a very valuable and innovative and necessary resource for an area of the community that is not downtown, that has not received hundreds of millions of dollars of investment and hundreds of millions of dollars of intention, hundreds of millions of other people's dollars.
Thank you, Mr. Norwood. Ms. Robin Reynolds.
Mayor Scott, Vice Mayor Webb, and city directors. Never would I have thought that I would have lived in the center of a presidential disaster zone. That will be a day I will never forget in my entire life. And I want to tell you some things that I personally have observed. And yes, I'm only one person, but I think I speak for every citizen in this town who is impacted by this. Competency. I see competency. I would love to meet the emergency manager director and personally thank him. I served for many years on the Children's Hospital Emergency Code Green Committee, and this disaster and the magnitude, what that team accomplished in such a short period of time was absolutely unbelievable. Collaboration. Now, my days kind of run together, and I don't remember if it was Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, but I looked outside. We had utility companies from 4 different states. We had probably every city department that responded parked in our parking lot and the parking lot across the street. I had to laugh when I saw the Parks and Recreation Department truck because we certainly didn't look like a Little Rock City park. Compassion. And I'm very passionate about this because Every city employee, every subcontractor has been so kind to all of us. They've got a can-do-it attitude. Nothing was too big. I mean, for lack of a better word, I kind of stalked some of those black trucks that were going around because we had so many trees and so many different types of situations that I wanted to see how I think the grapple hook would actually go onto the property, pick it up, and put it in the truck. Well, they figured out how to do it. It literally saved us thousands and thousands of dollars. And I think having been on the Little Rock School Board in some very turbulent times and when we had work stoppages, I really want to thank each of y'all. Our phone numbers were in the paper. It's before we had text. It's before we had cell phones. And I literally know what it's like for my phone to ring 24 hours a day for probably all in total 3 weeks. But this is over 2 months. Y'all have given numerous hours. You've got cell phones. You can be reached by text. And I know that it's very trying. And we also comprehend the extra workload for all of the departments. And you've got such great department leaders, and I mean, it's evidenced by what we have seen. And I know that planning and development, I mean, their workload has got to have quadrupled in this time. But again, I'm only one person, but the city has done a remarkable job and really made a difference for us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, if you would please read item number 21.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 22,019 of August the 3rd, 2021, to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid, to authorize the city manager to amend the agreement with the Central Arkansas Library System in an amount not to exceed $100,000 to provide programming coordination, meetings, and applications for the Be Mighty Summer Meals Program, to declare an emergency and for the purposes first reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on second reading.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it, second reading.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 22,019 to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid, to authorize the city manager to amend the agreement with the Central Arkansas Library System in an amount not to exceed $100,000 to provide programming coordination, meetings, and applications for the Be Mighty Summer Meals Program, to declare an emergency, second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Third reading.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 22,019 to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid, to authorize the city manager to amend the agreement with the Central Arkansas Library System in an amount not to exceed $100,000 to provide programming coordination, meetings, and applications for the Be Mighty Summer Meals Program, to declare an emergency, third and final reading.
We've now had 3 readings. Seeing no comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. There's an emergency clause. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. We'll now ask for a motion to make appointments and reappointments to various City of Little Rock boards and commissions
So move.
and other
Second.
purposes. There's a motion from Director Richards, a second from Director Hines. We'll recess. We'll go to the back room.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Age-friendly commission, Odessa Dara, Joan T. Deal. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Community Housing Advisory Board, Zachary Johnson. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Commission on Children, Youth, and Families, Shania Eubanks, Chrissy Jennings, Marcavis Williams, Stacy McAdoo. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Historic District Commission, Scott Green, Amber Jones, Thomas DeGraff. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Little Rock Planning Commission, Stephen Person. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Oakland Fraternal Historic Cemetery Board, Francis Ross, Rita Benefield Hennard. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Sister Cities Commission, Esperanza Crane. All those in favor, please say aye. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Director Wyrick. Your hand's up.
It was an accident.
All right. We got a motion to it, Director?
Mayor, just want to be able to get some of those professional service contracts out. Does anyone have any objections to the ones that I've sent out? Okay, we'll move forward. Thank you.
And just for real quick before we adjourn, Mayor, City Manager, next week we will have the policy discussion about the renters' rights. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And as we shared, we'll have a special call meeting in regards to the juvenile curfew ordinance at 4 o'clock on next Tuesday. And then secondly, as I shared, sometime tomorrow we'll make the announcement as far as extending the deadline. I do want to share with members of the board, this does, the reason why the June 11th date was set was based on conversations with FEMA and our private contractor. And so, because that date was set, the private contractor made decisions, business decisions, to be here with additional crews, additional work. There will be some additional costs as it relates to this change. And we don't know what it'll be on the FEMA side because we made the change today. Clearly, we're doing it, listening to the community, but we all also know, we lost 100% approval on May 13th, I believe. And so from that point on, it went from 100% reimbursement to 75%, and that's how we calculate the numbers of what we're projected to spend. So there more than likely will be in excess of what was previously communicated because of this decision. I just want to be very clear. We're doing it for the right reasons. But when we have a change in that delta as it relates to additional money or get any more feedback from FEMA, John Honeywell is going to be visiting with the private contractors and FEMA right now, determine what that new date is. So when we come back with a new date, it's going to be based on guidance from FEMA and the private contractor, and also with understanding that we're extending more dollars that we have to pay outside of the FEMA reimbursement. Just want to make sure we're all clear on that, so there's no surprises moving forward. Clearly, we're doing it for the right reasons, but also want to be very upfront with the city board on the additional costs. Everybody understand? We all on one accord? Everybody on one accord? No. Just want to make sure because it's additional money. Yes, ma'am. You ready now?
Yes, I am ready. I went to a neighborhood meeting last night, and we had a person from code enforcement that handed out a sheet of everything that was loaded in 311 that was still pending. And I estimated just for Southwest Little Rock, there were 985 items on the list. Some of them were 5-1, 5-3, all the way up to 531. And there was a lot of
conversation among the people that attended about how bad Southwest Little Rock looks. The trash not being picked up to all kinds of different issues. And so one lady in the group said, well, how can we get this fixed? And the code enforcement person said, well, you need to talk to the board. Looked at me. So when it was my turn to speak, I asked him, I said, okay, so you say that all of these issues, that they're to come to the board. Tell me what it is that the board needs to do. And I said, is it one particular item that is in really bad shape that you don't have the resources for? Is it public works? Is it the court system? You know, what is it? And so he really indicated that it was a mixture of all the departments that feed into 311, not having enough people on the ground to do the work. Code enforcement's in charge of the weeds and cutting yards and different things like that. And then he backed up and he said, well, it wasn't really necessarily public works, even though they do have a lot of things that they need to pick up and they're backed up on. And sometimes we get caught up in the court system, but generally we do not have enough people in the field to do the work. And if you remember when we were working on the budget, you were wanting to add more people to take the calls, the 311 calls. And I said, then we got enough ticket takers. We just need people in the field to complete the work. So my question tonight is, when we do the budget, you guys present to us and tell us this is how many people you need. They're also talking about vehicles. They don't have enough vehicles to do the work. Can somebody do an analysis of our 311 system and where we're lacking? Where's our gaps? I understand that in the code enforcement area where they do the mowing and things like that, that they're short people, they're short vehicles. I'd like to know, after some analysis, where we're short and what we can do to get things up to par. Now, that's just District 6, which is going to be Southwest Little Rock. I don't know what other districts we have, and I don't know how many numbers are in there. But if we look like the other areas, there's a lot of pent-up demand for work to be done in our city. And people expect it to be cleaned up and taken care of. So I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe we ought to have some sort of a meeting to discuss it and understand what the numbers mean so we can be prepared to address whatever it is that we need to do. I don't know if the tornado area has created this number of issues or not. You know, I don't know if we're shorthanded because of that, if this is just an anomaly for May. But it was close to 1,000 items just for District 6.
We'll get on it.
Tomorrow,
Post
we
haste.
put an emergency clause on it.
We'll get on post haste.
Okay.
And we'll have
just analyze the data.
Yes, ma'am.
We can see where we're short on personnel. Maybe we can move some people around. I don't know. But it's not a happy situation to see all the stuff that we see.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm encouraging them to use 311 because when I use it, it works, you know, but there's something lacking in getting everything cleaned up.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. A motion to adjourn?
Come on.
All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, say nay. Ayes have it.